Texas Senator Ted Cruz returning home to a hero's welcome. An 8-minute standing ovation at a speaking event. It was a different story in Washington, where he's being criticized by members of his own party. But in an interview with ABC News, Cruz said, "Who cares?"
I'm not serving in office because I desperately needed 99 new friends in the U.S. Senate. Given the choice between being reviled in Washington, D.C. and appreciated in Texas, or reviled in Texas and appreciated in Washington, I would take the former 100 out of 100 times.
Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, and David Webb is host of The David Webb Show on Sirius XM's Patriot Channel, Tea Party 365 co-founder and a Fox News contributor. Welcome to both of you.
Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
David, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush is calling where Ted Cruz is concerned for a little restraint, self-restraint. In the end, though, what was the impact of what he had accomplished beyond the ovation he got in Washington from his party?
Well, and let's separate what he got versus what we, the people, got. I said from the beginning that Ted Cruz was going down with a fight. And it was a time to galvanize the base. And to be fair, these events galvanize those that are for it, those that are for against it. In this case, it's Obamacare. And that's a benefit to Ted Cruz. I agree, don't overplay your hand. Move forward smartly. We have a marathon of a battle against Obamacare on behalf of the American people. As for who won, who lost, the American people have lost in this entire thing. Here we are with a train wreck in Obamacare. Here we are blowing through sequester cuts in the debt ceiling debacle. Here we are simply not providing solutions. And in January 15th, the poor debt can, which we've kicked to hell and back, is now going to be kicked one more time.
You know, I imagine, Leslie, that a lot of elected representatives, as they go home, are curious what the reaction will be of their constituents. What's your impression of this standing ovation in Texas?
Well, 750 people in Texas like Ted Cruz, and this was all about Ted Cruz. This was not about the Republican Party. I don't think Ted Cruz is a Republican. I don't think he's a Tea-publican, as I call them. I think he's the party of himself, and I hope he's very happy. I have to tell you, I have a lot of respect for people who stand up and want to, you know, have that mountain they want to fight for and die on, but not at the expense of over 800,000 people losing their jobs, not at the expense of people seeing the CDC and the National Institute of Health being closed down as research goes forward. The list goes on. This was selfish. This was about Ted Cruz looking. This was about Ted Cruz looking to be president and cost the American people millions of dollars.
Who lost their jobs?
Further fragmented the Republican Party, and it hurts the political process.
It's a simple question. You said 800,000.
Over 800,000 people furloughed.
They're getting paid back for their paid vacation off, so nobody lost their job. Okay, you talk about the CDC. These programs were furloughed. These programs are coming back. So nothing came out of that end of your points.
Thank you. Let me throw this out there on Ted Cruz still. A 74% favorability rating among Tea Party Republicans and 56% favorability rating among non-Tea Party Republicans. This is according to Pew. So worth it, David?
Look, worth it from political gamesmanship, I say yes. Look, I spend less time worrying about Pew Research polls and looking at what actually happened here. We've got a Senate that basically for decades now has been the president's club. 100 bureaucratic oligarchs who don't reflect the American people's will, and a GOP Senate who, frankly, in large part, doesn't know how to fight. Sometimes you fight and you lose, but you leave your base, you leave the American people with the impression and the truth that you will fight for them. Well, and this is a marathon, not a sprint, so I'm not worried about one battle. I'm worried about a very long-term future. We have grown our unfunded liabilities. We are out of control in this country, and David, it's time we put a stop.
Let me let Leslie jump in here, because most things in life are a marathon, not a sprint. Leslie, today the president has the opportunity to stand up and address not only everyone who is trying to implement Obamacare and fix the computer with the quote-unquote tech surge. He can also explain to Americans trying to register what the heck is going on. What do you expect him to say? What does he need to say?
Well, what he's already saying, which is, you know, my bad, the system, that the computer system is not working. But a failed computer system, as we saw with Twitter, which also crashed at its inception, and that is a computer program, which is about a company that is just about an interactive social media site. This is a health care plan, and the implementation absolutely no question of the computer program has not gone well. I do believe not that they're going to extend the individual mandate for a year. I think that the president will and should also address that. If it takes a couple of weeks, you extend it a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and so forth. But David, I do want to address one point David said, which is when you talk about those polls. In 1 month, the approval rating for Obamacare jumped 8%. The Tea Party's ratings have declined. The Republicans' ratings among Americans have declined. And if you say the Senate is about the president, that's a slap in the face to the American voters. The American voters, both Democrat and Republican, elected those officials in both the House and the Senate, David.
Yeah, and frankly, I would tell the American voters that you need to consider why you've put people in office, regardless of party, for 30 years plus. I mean, this is ridiculous. We have essentially in America created, or let be created, a permanent political class that sits inside the Beltway. And it's time we as Americans take a look at our choices and what we're getting in results, because you can argue left, right, you can argue the polls all you want, but I'm asking the American people, tell me what solution you got out of anything from October 1st to October 21st today. You got nothing.
All right, guys, I appreciate you presenting both sides. David Webb, Leslie Marshall, always great to have you here. 10:19 after the hour.